There comes a moment in life when you realize that the only thing standing between you and your dreams is your own voice. Not the voice you use to speak to others, but the voice inside your head that tells you, you can't do it. Today, I want you to silence that voice because today you begin a journey. A journey of just 1 month that can change how you speak, how you think, and how you see yourself. I've expanded Keynote 1, Speak Daily Without Fear, into a 700-word speech segment. There is a fear that lives quietly inside so many people, a fear that whispers every time you try to speak in English, telling you that your words are not good enough, that your pronunciation is wrong, that others will judge you, that you should stay silent instead of risking embarrassment, and this fear becomes a wall between you and your progress. A wall that grows stronger every single day you choose silence over expression. But what if I told you that this fear has no real power unless you give it permission? What if the only thing you truly need to begin your journey is not perfection, but courage? Because courage is not about speaking flawlessly. It is about speaking despite the fear shaking inside you. It is about opening your mouth even when your mind is unsure. It is about choosing growth over comfort every single day. Speaking daily is not just a practice, it is a transformation. Because every time you speak, you are training your mind to believe that you are capable. You are teaching your tongue to move with confidence. You are allowing your thoughts to find a voice, even if that voice trembles in the beginning. And yes, it will tremble, it will hesitate, it will break. But that is not failure, that is progress taking its first breath. And the more you speak, the less power fear holds over you, because fear survives in silence, but it disappears in action. You do not need an audience to begin. You do not need a classroom. You do not need perfect conditions. All you need is a decision that no matter what happens, you will speak today. Even if it is only for 5 minutes, even if it is only in front of a mirror, even if it is only a few broken sentences that do not make perfect sense. Because those broken sentences are building something powerful inside you. They are building confidence. They are building fluency. They are building a version of you that is no longer afraid to be heard. When you speak every day, something incredible begins to happen. Your mind starts to organize thoughts faster. Your words begin to flow more naturally. Your hesitation starts to fade, and slowly, without even realizing it, you begin to sound different, not perfect, but real, and being real is far more powerful than being perfect. Because real communication is not about impressing people, it is about connecting with them. And connection comes from authenticity, not perfection. There will be days when you feel stuck, days when words refuse to come out, days when you feel like you are not improving at all. And in those moments, your mind will try to convince you to stop, to skip just one day, to take a break, to wait until you feel more ready. But growth does not come from waiting. It comes from showing up, especially on the days when it feels the hardest. Because those are the days that shape you the most. Those are the days that build discipline. And discipline is what turns small daily efforts into powerful results. Do not compare your voice to anyone else's voice. Do not measure your journey against someone who has been practicing for years, because your path is your own, your pace is your own, and your progress is something that cannot be rushed or copied. It can only be lived step by step, word by word, day by day. And every time you choose to speak, instead of staying silent, you are proving to yourself that you are stronger than your fear, that you are capable of growth, that you are worthy of being heard. Your voice does not need permission to exist. It does not need approval to be valuable. It does not need perfection to be powerful. It only needs to be used, because the more you use it, the more it grows, the more it strengthens, the more it becomes a reflection of your confidence, your courage, your determination to rise above doubt and step into your potential. So speak, even if your voice shakes. Speak, even if your words are not perfect. Speak, even if you feel unsure, because every word you say is a step forward. Every sentence you try is a victory. Every moment you choose courage over fear is a transformation in progress. Here is keynote 2. Listen and absorb English expanded into a 700-word speech segment. There is a silent power in listening that most people underestimate, a power so deep and transformative that it can shape the way you think, the way you speak, and the way you understand the world around you. Yet many people rush to speak without first learning how to truly listen. And that is where they struggle, because language is not only spoken, it is absorbed, it is felt. It is lived through the ears before it ever reaches the tongue. And if you want to speak English with confidence, you must first allow yourself to become a patient listener. Listening is not just about hearing words, it is about understanding rhythm, tone, emotion, and flow. It is about noticing how sentences are formed naturally, how pauses are used, how expressions change depending on the situation. And when you begin to pay attention to these details, you realize that English is not just a subject to study. It is a living experience that surrounds you in conversations, videos, stories, and voices from all over the world. And every time you listen with intention, you are quietly training your mind to recognize patterns, to store phrases, to build familiarity without forcing it. You do not need expensive courses or perfect environments to start listening, because the world is already filled with opportunities. You can watch videos, listen to interviews, follow conversations, hear stories, and even replay the same content again and again, because repetition is not a weakness, it is a strength. Every time you listen again, you notice something new, a word you missed before, a pronunciation you did not catch, a phrase that suddenly makes sense, and slowly, without pressure, your mind begins to connect these pieces together. At first, it may feel overwhelming. You may not understand everything. You may feel lost in the speed of native speakers. You may question whether this is even helping you. But growth is not always visible in the moment. Sometimes it is happening quietly beneath the surface, like roots growing deep before a tree rises strong. And every second you spend listening is building that foundation, even if you cannot see it immediately, even if progress feels slow, because understanding does not come all at once. It comes in layers, one word at a time, one sentence at a time, one realization at a time. Listening also teaches you confidence in a different way. It removes the pressure of immediate response. It allows you to observe without fear, to learn without judgment, to improve without being exposed. And in that space, you begin to feel more comfortable with the language. You begin to recognize familiar sounds, familiar structures, familiar expressions. And when those familiarities grow, speaking becomes easier, because you are no longer creating from nothing. You are drawing from what you have already absorbed. Make listening a daily habit, not something you do occasionally, but something that becomes a natural part of your routine, whether it is 10 minutes or an hour, whether it is during your free time or while doing something else. Let English surround you. Let it become a background to your thoughts. Let it enter your mind without resistance, because the more you expose yourself to it, the more natural it begins to feel. And the more natural it feels, the less intimidating it becomes. Do not aim to understand every single word, because that will only create frustration. Instead, focus on the overall meaning, the feeling behind the message, the way ideas are expressed. And trust that with time, the details will become clearer, because learning a language is not about perfection. It is about progress. It is about allowing yourself to grow without pressure, to improve without fear, to learn without limits. And as you continue to listen, something beautiful begins to happen. Your mind starts thinking in English without forcing it. Phrases begin to form naturally. Responses come more quickly, and the gap between listening and speaking begins to close. Not because you memorized everything, but because you lived the language, you allowed it to become a part of you, you trusted the process, you stayed consistent. You kept showing up even when it felt difficult, even when it felt slow, even when it felt uncertain. Here is Keynote 3's Accept Mistakes as Part of Growth, expanded into a 700-word speech segment. There is a truth that many people try to avoid, a truth that feels uncomfortable, sometimes even painful. And that truth is that mistakes are not your enemy, they are your greatest teacher. Yet from a very young age, we are taught to fear mistakes, to avoid them, to feel embarrassed by them, to hide them as if they define our weakness. And this fear follows us into every new journey we begin, especially when we try to learn something like speaking English, where every wrong word, every mispronunciation, every broken sentence feels like a spotlight exposing our imperfections. And so we hesitate, we hold back, we choose silence over risk, and without realizing it, we stop ourselves from growing. But what if you change the way you see mistakes? What if instead of viewing them as failures, you began to see them as stepping stones? Because every mistake you make carries a lesson. Every error shows you exactly where you need to improve. Every awkward sentence teaches you something that no textbook ever could. And the more mistakes you allow yourself to make, the faster you learn. Because learning is not a straight path. It is messy, unpredictable, full of trial and error, and it is in that process that real progress is born. When you speak and make a mistake, it means you are trying. It means you are stepping out of your comfort zone. It means you are challenging yourself to grow, and that is something to be proud of, not ashamed of, because the people who never make mistakes are the ones who never try, the ones who stay silent, the ones who choose comfort over courage. And while they may avoid embarrassment, they also avoid progress. They avoid transformation. They avoid becoming better than they were yesterday. Think about how a child learns to speak. They do not worry about being perfect. They do not feel embarrassed when they say something wrong. They repeat words. They mix sentences. They make countless mistakes. And yet, they keep going. They keep trying, they keep speaking. And that is why they learn so quickly, because they are not afraid of being wrong. They are not held back by judgment. They are free to explore the language without limits. And that same freedom is something you must give yourself if you truly want to improve. Mistakes are not signs of failure, they are signs of effort. They are proof that you are in motion, that you are not standing still, that you are actively working towards something better. And every time you correct a mistake, you are strengthening your understanding, you are building accuracy, you are moving one step closer to fluency. Even if it does not feel like it in the moment, even if progress seems slow, because growth is often invisible until you look back and realize how far you have come. There will be moments when people correct you, moments when you feel embarrassed, moments when you wish you had said something differently. And in those moments, you have a choice. You can either let that feeling stop you, or you can use it as fuel to become better. Because every correction is an opportunity, every uncomfortable moment is a lesson, every challenge is a chance to grow stronger, more confident, more capable than before. Do not carry the weight of perfection on your shoulders, because perfection is not the goal. Progress is, improvement is, consistency is, and the only way to achieve those things is by allowing yourself to be imperfect, by accepting that mistakes are not something to run away from, but something to embrace, something to learn from, something to grow through. Because the journey of learning a language is not about getting everything right. It is about continuing even when things go wrong, and as you begin to accept your mistakes, something inside you starts to shift. The fear begins to fade, the pressure begins to lift, the hesitation begins to disappear, and in its place, confidence begins to grow, not because you are perfect, but because you are no longer afraid of being imperfect, because you understand that every mistake is just another step forward, another lesson learned, another part of your journey that is shaping you into someone stronger, braver, and more capable than you ever imagined. Here is Keynote Forza, Build Strong Self, Belief and Confidence, expanded into a 700-word speech segment. There is something within you that no one else can see. Something quiet yet powerful, something that does not depend on your circumstances, your background, or your past failures, and that something is belief, the belief you hold about yourself, the belief that shapes every action you take, every word you speak, every decision you make. And when it comes to learning English, this belief becomes the foundation of everything, because before you can speak confidently in front of the world, you must first believe in yourself when no one is watching. Self-belief is not something you are born with, it is something you build, something you nurture, something that grows every time you choose to trust yourself despite your doubts. And the truth is that doubt will always be there. It will whisper that you are not good enough, that your English is weak, that others are better than you, that you should wait until you are perfect. And if you listen to that voice, it will keep you stuck exactly where you are. It will convince you to stay silent, to avoid risks, to hide your potential behind fear, and slowly, without realizing it, you begin to believe that voice as if it is the truth. But it is not the truth. It is only a reflection of your fear. And fear is not meant to control you. It is meant to be faced. It is meant to be challenged. It is meant to be proven wrong through action. Because every time you speak even when you feel unsure, every time you try even when you think you might fail, every time you step out of your comfort zone, you are rewriting that belief. You are telling yourself that you are capable, that you are growing, that you are stronger than your doubts. Confidence does not come from knowing everything. It comes from believing that you can learn anything. It comes from trusting your ability to improve, to adapt, to rise above your limitations. And this kind of confidence is not built overnight. It is built through small actions repeated daily, through showing up even when you do not feel ready, through practicing even when progress feels slow, through speaking even when your voice shakes. Because confidence is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite it. There will be moments when you compare yourself to others, moments when you feel behind, moments when you question whether you will ever reach the level you desire. And in those moments, you must remind yourself that your journey is your own. Your progress cannot be measured by someone else's timeline. Your growth cannot be compared to someone else's experience. Because every person you see speaking fluently today was once a beginner. They once struggled, they once doubted themselves, but they did not stop. They kept going, they kept believing, they kept trusting the process. Even when it was difficult, belief also means being kind to yourself. It means not criticizing every mistake, not judging every imperfect sentence, not punishing yourself for not being perfect, because harsh self-judgment only weakens your confidence, while self-acceptance strengthens it. And when you begin to accept yourself as you are, when you allow yourself to grow without pressure, when you treat yourself with patience and understanding, you create an environment where confidence can truly flourish. Your words carry power. Even if they are simple, even if they are not perfect, they carry your thoughts, your ideas, your identity. And when you believe in that, when you value your voice, when you understand that what you say matters, you begin to speak differently. You begin to express yourself more freely, more boldly, more authentically, and that authenticity is what makes your communication powerful. Not perfection, not complexity, but honesty and confidence in your own voice. And as you continue this journey, as you keep practicing, as you keep showing up, as you keep believing in yourself, even when it feels hard, something begins to change, not just in your English, but in who you are. You become more confident, more fearless, more willing to take risks, more open to growth. And that transformation goes beyond language. It becomes a part of your identity, a part of your strength, a part of the way you see yourself and the world around you.